day 409, the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you'd like to sponsor upcoming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. Very greatly appreciated. Today we're doing a simulation. I involve to Yud Base. Only when the non-Jew lit the candle for his own purpose, then is the Jew allowed to derive benefit from its light. But if the non-Jew lit the candle for purpose of the Jew, or a sick person who is not in danger, also is you're not allowed to heat yourself opposite. Because you might come to, maybe the non-Jew will come to light more candles for your purpose. That kind of shuttle. Klamar, meaning, so even though it says candles, candle says the Arukh HaShulchan, if he made a bonfire to heat himself, connect them near the opposite day because of the cold. And according to the normal custom world, for two people you need more wood than one person. When the flame is small, it won't be enough for two people to heat themselves. We're concerned maybe the non-Jew will add fuel for the fire for you. Even though later on it's going to become clear, only when he knows you are afraid he's going to add wood for you, they come nevertheless in a bonfire. Definitely on the kenu. It's natural that way, it's automatic. Another person comes to warm himself up. Connect the corresponding to his arrival, they add some wood. If you don't, even they're not don't recognize each other. So when you sit by him, you become like his acquaintance for this purpose. Those who argue on this, Avram argues. The short Paskin said, if you know for sure that he doesn't know you, it's much according to everybody. There's a nice leniency. A time necessity, you can rely on the opinion that allows this, even if he knows you, if you let him clearly for his own purpose or for the purpose of a sick person. So obviously these are things where cold and heat were makel and amir la'akum. This is one of the examples where Mr. Bura clearly specifies that. And now we'll see if the Arukh HaShulchan is matir or not matir. He says, this is what he says. If the non-Jew made the bonfire for his own purpose, or for the purpose of a sick person, which is permissible, some people forbid it by a bonfire because he might increase the amount of wood for the non-sick Jew. If he dies, he brings the opinion of the lenient opinion first. Because the Sefer HaGadol, and he explains that Smag was Sefer Truma Mordechai V'Amorgos Maimonides because the Mutzi Solis Chaim Keneged Aisha Soleinu Yudil Tzoko. They all write the Jew is allowed to heat himself opposite a fire which is made by a non-Jew for his own purposes or tzarchola for the purpose of a sick person. Ein Shom. V'yeshishmar, those who say lo pli klal is no machliks at all. Matiri Myrek Shaisam Meduat the Lekas from Erev Shabbos. Those are permitted when the bonfire is burning away from Erev Shabbos. Shanasi Spectre is made at a time when it's permissible, surely so for the Jew. Chach b'Shabbos, Chossi b'Eitzin the Mutter, and then on Shabbos he added wood, that's permissible. Those who forbid it, Myra is to say that Soyavak Sha'asa and Yudi b'Shabbos, Yishul Atzmo. When the non-Jew made it on Shabbos for himself, even though it's only for himself, the law does also that's forbidden. No mashmakeh. Arukh HaShulchan rejects this dichotomy made by the Bach, but all this is by a bonfire. But by lighting the oven in the winter oven, the valley mutter chodesh is according to everybody. And evidently the way the winter ovens work, it's like a furnace. There's no such thing as adding for somebody. It's like a kmoner, it's like a candle. The 100 candle for one person, candle for 100 person to make a furnace work. You have to put in the same amount of fuel, no matter how many people are using the heat from the furnace at that time. Ches, b'day yishno the bezesha chasvu savnu. Sorry, with that which he wrote the kshid likaner b'shul yisrael the mutter for the candle for himself and for the Jews permissible. Yesh mishomer those who argue say b'shul shneim aser. Okay, Avraham says you will live for both of them. It's forbidden. For us in the common siman tough kuf tezvav. He brings evidence, Muvan Mechutz Tchum, something which is brought outside Tchum Shabbos beyond 2,000 amos outside the city. Olike Penis Shilo, or a non-Jew gathered fruit for you, for himself, sorry. We surely saw him for the Jew. Also, in both cases, done for himself and for the Jew. It's forbidden, Ayin Sham. This is astonishing, says Shulchan. What's the comparison? There we do it for both. The way he's doing it for both himself and the Jew. He adds more stuff than if he was doing for himself alone. But here, a candle for one is a candle for 100. The Lama answer why should be forbidden. Because he did it also for himself. Let's read it like this. Why it should be for him, since he did it also for himself. Increasing the amount is not relevant here. The Shabbat says if we know that he also did it for the Yisrael, it's also. Which is a big chumrah. And the Bi'alacha says at the end that no, even though he writes in the Mishnah Berurah, he writes in the Bi'alacha at the end that somebody who relies on like we saw before from the Mishnah Berurah, somebody relies on the heter, where he did it for himself and for the purpose of the Jew, and they don't protest against him, and Arukh HaShulchan seems to say that it's outright permissible. He brings down the brackets here, he rejected this, he says, he rejected Gamkin. He says similar to Mishnah Berurah, but he had a problem with the Rambam. That says similar to the Arukh HaShulchan. But he had a problem with the Rambam. That says the Mishnah is so perikol the Masha the Osir sounds like it's forbidden. That the Rambam said where it was primarily did it for the Jew, not for himself. The Barnura says that. I am sure. Because the Rashi Ber Kisvei Al Pi Yerushalmi. Shalmi. Yes, Yerushalmi could be Gersos. Shalmi has different versions. I be see some Simon Zeh. Vachras Rashba Heter. With the determination of the Rashba is to be matir, where it's done for the Jew and for himself and for the Jew, it's permissible. Test. Yisrael made a if a Jew and a non-Jew are sitting together and he lit the candle, the non-Jew. Im Rov Em Yehudim, if most people present are not Jewish, obviously other people there besides the two of them, you're allowed to use the light. You know, we saw most of them are Jewish. Now let's use light. The Mistama Rov. Because probably we assume he lit it for the majority of people who are present. If it's 50-50, it's also forbidden. There's no clarity that he lit it not for the Jews. But if there's some evidence or some proof that he lit it for himself, you see immediately after he lights it, he uses the light. Then even most people present are Jewish, it's permissible. We see he lit for himself. Maybe we say it's intent for both of them. Hey, that's also still permissible as long as the clear-cut intent there was clear-cut intent for the non-Jew himself. The Shmuel says if we know that he did it for another, also for a Jew, it's also. We did it. Sorry. Oh, the same thing we said before. Yeah, the same idea. You know, same principle. Somebody who relies on this for. No, this is not. This sorry, this is the wrong one. We'll just say I'm Mishnah. Okay, never mind. Scratch it, Mishnah. I was going back to the previous one. Ignore me on that point. No Mishnah here. Aname Yehudi. Who be based on Israel? If the non-Jew is in a Jew's home, there should be sure Israel. It's known that he wants to light for the Israel. Also, sorry, then he knows. The non-Jew knows that he's not allowed to light for the Jew. If we marry, and he does a ruse, R-U-S-E. To light the candle, use it a little bit. They should so Jew can use it afterwards. Finally, also, it's definitely forbidden. The covenant of Israel. Its primary purpose is for the Jew. When you hear Nabi Aldusi, I remember in my youth, says the Arukh HaShulchan. The custom was on Friday nights in the winter. When the nights were long, call a Jew to ask him But Tzaycha b'tzintzenes yain saraf, would you like a jug full of whiskey? But Yomer Shul say yes. Shivalo, so they said to him, but so naily tain l'cha, I want to give it to you. Amana says Shiv Shalom Tzavachah, what can you do? We can't find it in the darkness. But I'm a leak there, you light a candle, which shall say yain and drink the saraf and drink the whiskey, and he would leave. He stops, and the Jews remaining would use its light. Near that the Gomahu. Shulchan said it seems completely permissible. Ben Yehudi she'ein ruggy bow. If it's a Jew who's not, you're not accustomed to call in under certain circumstances. There's no suspicion that it's going to be a ruse. But even though Yisrael is doing a ruse himself, what do we care? I lucky for analysis, the lighting is for the non-Jew alone. As opposed to the non-Jew is the one who is generating the ruse. Then the lighting is for the Jew, and is forbidden. And this is the primary understanding. If you have an asenu, that if this is what he's about to explain. If according to understanding, if we proceed with the situation, he's not making a ruse for the Jew, a favor for the Jew. That's what he's doing for himself. If he been biased, even if he lives in the house, mutter missile. If not, if he ain't been biased, even if he doesn't live in the house, it's also. But most of the time, ben biased, he come out him. Somebody lives in the house, the servant, there's such like can be it's more likely to perform a ruse, and therefore yesh lahavin bezeh, and you have to understand accordingly. You would cut ben beis safe, received out. Yesh never basis, so if there's a house in a candle Jewish home, find Yehudi if he leak near acher, non-Jew comes and lights another candle. Mutter shtamish lahora, allowed to use its candle, but owed ner rishon dolek, as long as the first candle is still burning. After the first one is extinguished, also you can't use the second one after the first one goes out. So if you put oil in a burning candle, you could use it until you assess that the oil which is originally in it would have become extinguished. And then it's forbidden. This comes to the words of the Torah. Says right stuff. Even those who permit a bonfire, here they forbid it. Kebon, the Schilas had lokas on their shady, we should Yisrael, and Sham. I see the second candle is definitely lit for the Jew. So therefore here, it was left as a simple psak to forbid it. Some say the opposite. Even those are forbidden by a bonfire, they're allowed over here. Because by a bonfire phrase is going to add for the Jew. It comes as light for the Jew. Is supposed to hear, but when he lit the second candle, okay, granted, he did it for the Jew. Nevertheless, at that point, there's no benefit for the Jew because the first one is still there. Such base had sheet, you go into a cloak, therefore he played it, it was like naught. Therefore, once at the time was lit, there was no chalei shame isser attached to it. No shame isser can devolve later on. The ikar isser shach be'esas yis melacha, because the primary shasa isser is when you do the melacha. However, in Kavanah saying the Yokadesh Yoyer like Yisrael Char Kibur Rishon, but the non-Jews' intent was specifically that after the first candle goes out, the second candle, which will provide illumination, Yesh Banim Lesor, there's grounds to forbid. And therefore, we assume that that's the case, even if it's not clear. But those who permit a bonfire, Vadish with the council would permit over here. Okay, let's talk about bonfires. Matina Bagos my money is their lotion. Agos mine brings down. I remember when I was by my Rebbe, it says in brackets to Marami Rutenberg. Bemigdal Vishburg. I assume that's in the prison where the Marami Rutenberg was in prison last years of his life. Sina Be'er Shabbos, he made a Friday, a medulla, a bonfire. Chami connect with Shabbos to heat ourselves on it, but with opposite on Shabbos. And when we're sitting down until the bonfire is almost extinguished, Brohavanim slaves came, servants, they made it big again. From they said, I'm doing it for our benefit. I go, sir, we sat there and we rejoiced. Came in the Maram, Rabbi Shalosh, some Maisa, we would do a lock, yeah? Since Maram did a Maisa by a bonfire to be lenient, even though I can distinguish this in a candle, because here they had wood. Nevertheless, I make I feel as long as there was one from before Shabbos, they added before the first one ended. Maram Rittenberg starts to be Simach on him, and you don't lose. Shabbat says a Medura which is lit Erev Shabbos, and Naju came and added wood on Shabbos for Yisrael. You're not allowed to heat yourself afterwards, after the first wood is gone. Before the first wood is gone, you can be matzah at the time of need. Well, that goes against the Maram Wittenberg. If we rely on Maram Wittenberg for the say of Mashurach Geshem and saying Bracha, I think we rely on him also for this. You know, Maram was one said 90 times in one day. It's the same like 90 days. Same thing like 30 days. They had to make sure make it say the permission there was because the cold was very great. When it's cold, it's very great. Anyway, you're allowed to tell a non-Jew to light a bonfire. You can't answer a bus because then we know Kiddush. Rather from his words, it's clear that the leniency was because the bonfire was lit from Erev Shabbos. These lachas we can distinguish in various different ways from logic. It's a Torah, but since there is not a Torah prohibition, there you cannot rebuke those who rely on the opinions which are lenient. You base in the northern countries where the cold is very great at the time of the winter. And over Pasha, it's clear. Everybody's sick because it's such great cold. No man Yudi, and you go tell Najuv, and the outright goes and puts on the fire. So all these halachas which we just had are places where heat is optional. But where heat is mandatory because it's so cold. Or vice versa, when cold is mandatory because it's so hot, you can go and tell Nanju directly. Koshken Shehudi Masika Tanur, and certainly he's doing it on his own. Mutu say allowed to derive benefit from it. But Machmer is that it doesn't mean that to me. Somebody who's Machmer in these circumstances is astonishing and not to be accepted. But you can cuss the Shrabeni Yaakov Mirorin, so Yomer any Yudi Alika Ishtakno B'Shabbos. Takol Cholim Meitzotzino. The Rabbeinu Rucham writes the Yaakov Mirorin to tell Nanju to light the fire on Shabbos and fix it on Shabbos, as everybody's sick when it comes to cold. But it's not so cold there. Or should be able to say today it's not so cold there. Fire also Marlene Yudi unless you can't tell Nanju to stoke the fire. But if you also even the Nanju does it on his own, so you should protest. When there's more people, there are children in the house. Mutalo Marlene Yudi allowed to tell Nanju Lasikatanor to stoke the fire, stoke the oven. Children are sick when it comes to cold. Even the cold is not great. Of course, then the adults can also become warmed. It's ignited with permissive way for the children. Brackets. I'm going to the Olam is making even for his not so cold for the adults. The saying Mutter Shpusim Mitzvah, they hold that the Rabbana is permitted when there's anguish. When someone is Simon Shem Kol Ches. But we hold the Rak Shpus the Shpus. Only the Rabbanan honor the Rabbanan is Mutter, but Mitzvah when there's anguish. Hoshel have Simon Shem Zayin. Chayizarusha Lola Mar B'Shabbos Lastik Erev Shabbos. I'm sorry. So Shabbos Lastik Ayin Sham. You shouldn't say to him to light it, ignite it on Shabbos. The Buddha says you shouldn't be moicha. You shouldn't protest those who are lenient, because mutter should show you my mazidin, not because mutter, because better that they should do it not deliberately than deliberately. Nevertheless, they should not tell them on Shabbos to ignite or to make the bonfire. Rather, they should give him a job at Kaplanus. And I'm going to, it's not delineated by days, that he should ignite all the days of the winter, anytime it's cold. And then even if the non-Jew lights it when it's not so cold, it's possibly regarded as doing on his own volition. And you don't have to leave your house because he lit your stove, your oven. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. It's difficult to determine when it's called a great cold, when it's not called great cold. Same in our countries, B'yarchei Teves and Shvat, during Teves and Shvat, which is roughly January and February. HaKor Gadol mode, it's very cold. Can't have a specific determination, and not all people are equal in this, especially redheads, who, according to scientific research study, suffer worse from cold than other headed people. But it's not as that the minute I believe is to be making all significant heat and cold to call a non-Jew to turn on air conditioner or heating as appropriate. Could be that in our cases it could be considered a shwus because switch does this and that, the other thing. But l'maisa, regardless, people are making on this bisman hazeh in a widespread fashion.